I'm from Caledonia, New York, which is just south of Rochester.
And you've got your 50-year medal?
I have my 50-year medal, plus a few more years. I was 2 years old in 1941 when my mother noticed I had a sore on my one buttock when wearing diapers, and it didn't heal. So she took me to the family doctor, and he drew some blood and did the glucose reading and said to her, "Your child has diabetes, and I can't take care of her." So he sent me to Rochester, New York, to a general practitioner who was taking care of diabetics, young people. And I went to Dr. Fluke in 1941, and he was drafted into World War II, which makes me feel older. And he put me on to his cousin, Dr. John R. Williams Sr., who was a doctor in Rochester, getting insulin from Banting and Best's lab in Canada. It was illegal. They had a night porter bring it down to the train, on a train into the U.S., and Dr. Williams would go over to the depot and pick it up, and he saved people's lives. And that was back when it was in the 20s. So I got with him in 1941, and I've been blessed with wonderful doctors who knew what they should be doing all these years.
When did your relationship with Joslin start?
In the beginning, I was in the original 400, and so that was, what, 5-7 years ago?
And so you're part of the study as well?
Yes.
Has that affected your diabetes care at all, or are you...
From being here from the research? Yes. In retrospect, it has given me hope. I've heard since I was a child there's going to be a cure, and of course it isn't here yet. So I'm very hopeful. I'm going to be trying to get some money for the local juvenile diabetes group, who have a fundraiser coming up soon in my community. I haven't stepped out to help others much in my life, but I thought this was of help and I could do something with it, or you could do something with my history. So. Well, the change is, for one, the glass syringes to the disposable ones. The control. When I look back, we really didn't have control until those blood glucose machines came out, for me. Dr. Williams' son, Dr. John R. Williams Jr., was one of the first doctors in the country, and it was 1978 that he got home glucose monitoring machines for his diabetic patients, and I was one of them. We were a group of 8 people. And so after I went through his 6-week program, I went to work for him part-time and visited with the other diabetics coming in. So he was on the start of it, and I just think it's wonderful since then because I felt I had control. And part of getting control was realizing why the blood glucose was going up and why it was coming down. And that knowledge to me gave me control. Sometimes it does it now that I don't know why it went up or down, but that happens. In the past, it was my parents always made me feel like I could do things, and so I chose to be a teacher, and that I graduated from high school in '56, so going on to college at that time, I stayed in the dorm for 2 years. It was the first I was really away from home, and I had low blood glucose in the night, and my roommate would have to wake up the hall monitor, who would have to wake up the dorm monitor, and it happened more than once in 2 years. And so they came to me and said, "We don't think this is going to work for you. You've got to go home and get this straightened out." So I went home, and I had been accepted at another state school, and I was working in a dual program for a teaching certificate. And so I commuted from home for 2 years to another college, got my degree. However, the first day of student teaching, I had a low blood glucose and passed out. And fortunately, I had been in and talked to the teacher ahead of time and told her my experience of being a diabetic, and I didn't always realize that lows were coming on and what to do. She called the school nurse. The school nurse said she had never seen a diabetic have such a reaction before and raised Cain about it. And so I was marked down from a letter A of student teaching to letter B. This wouldn't happen today. And I was told by the professor who was on the board of grading that he did it, so they weren't going to certify me to teach. So my Dr. Williams went to bat for me, and he had a brain scan done to prove I didn't have anything else wrong with me. And I had good people working for me, and I ended up with my teaching degree. So that was my hardest time. And now I'm sure that wouldn't happen that way at all, which is good.
So when was this? What years?
That would have been in, fall of 56 I started college. I graduated in 1960. And they didn't let me go on with my other student teaching until I had my courses in. But it all worked out. But I had good people working for me.
Are you still teaching?
No, I did teach for a few years and started having children and wanted to stay home with them. Yeah. Because I had doctors who were up on things, I was very willing to try anything they wanted me to try. Taking a new insulin or taking it in a different way, taking 4 shots a day instead of 1 was not a problem for me. So I would encourage people to do that if they feel it's for them. And also for children to be courageous. You know, I think it's probably harder for people to be diagnosed as a teenager than it was for me as a 2-year-old, because I didn't know what it was like growing up eating the stuff I shouldn't eat. So I think it's very encouraging today, and I'm so delighted with what's happening with this research. There can be very frustrating times. I feel that you know, if it doesn't work so well today, tomorrow's another day. We should get up and think it's going to work better. I encourage people to find out how their blood glucose is affecting their lives and why. I think if we realize that we're not measuring something right or exercise is important, I really started going to exercise other than walking because I am a walker, just to routinely get something in, not to be sitting around doing nothing. And I've been active all my life. I always told people that I was around that I was diabetic because I didn't always feel the hypos coming on. So I wanted people to know that I was and to know that what to do to help me. It helped me in my classroom. I had a first grader after I explained the first day of school what to do. And if I talked too fast or if I talked too slow, if I changed, and she raised her hand one day and she said, "Mrs. Ball, you're not acting right." And I said, okay, and so I told them I couldn't share my juice with them. That was my point for the first graders. So I went and got my can of juice and I took it, and she was right. So I think we need to let people know around us and not try to hide it. And it's helped me. So that's my thing. Thank you.
That was